myself. Don't wanna be all by myself anymore. What a tune! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all here. I'm going to guess that you are. Caimh here. I hope you're well. Happy launch week, one and all. It's very exciting. You're very welcome to the Writing Cave. I don't call it the Man Cave. The Writing Cave for the last time. I mentioned this. He's got the moves. Thank you very much. Just people that complimenting my. Shouldn't have started my dancing. It's all downhill from here. Once people have seen. As my mother says, I have a great sense of rhythm. She's always constantly telling my wife that. Yes, you're very welcome. This is the last broadcast from the cave because we launched a book this week, and then we thought what we do next week to make life less stressful is we'd move house. So basically, we're moving house next week, which is well, it's lovely that after this we're having a bit of a party, and then launch week's officially over, and then tomorrow we have the mad mountain of stuff we need to do to move house while having 2 dogs and all the stuff that goes along. Hello to every from Northern Idaho. Do say where you're from. Leicester. Hello, Leicester. Just finished chapter 55 of the audiobook, and it's lovely to hear. We do have the voice of the audiobook on. He will be on this live broadcast, and he will answer for his crimes. That's all I'm going to say now. But let's just say he's been a very naughty boy, and he's going to find out exactly how. Andreas from Germany. Hello, my friend. Lovely to see you all there. Hello from Atlanta. Fantastic. I hope there are Americans who are frankly watching this on company time. Nothing would make me happier to know I'm stealing money from companies. Hello from Glasgow, Petersburg, Florida. Fantastic. San Francisco from Spain. Wonderful. Hello, Isabella. I don't think we've had Spain much before. Hello from Munich. Hello, all my German friends. I do. I'm going back. We know people have asked. We are going back in, I think it's June, to Germany to do a festival, and we'll probably do some other stuff when we're over there because that's when the A Man at One of Those Faces comes out in German. Would you believe? Which we're very excited about. Annie from Brum. Hello, Brum. Always loving it. Big fan. Hello from the M27. Wow, somebody's watching us on the move. I hope you're not driving the car while doing this because, well, I mean, on the one side, I don't want to be a large traffic accident while you're watching this, but on the second hand, it would be fantastic free publicity. Barry St. Edmunds. Hello, Worcester. Say Worcestershire. I do know how to say Worcestershire, mainly because I played against your sadly gone rugby team quite a bit. I say played. I announced teams that played against them. Gloucestershire. Oh, we got all the shires are in. Sunny Aberdeen. Good God, I'm not believing that. Well, okay. Sorry, that's obviously false because it's dark here, which means it's been dark in Aberdeen for at least 2 days. And hello from Salford. Lovely to have you here, Salford. That's basically not that far from where we are right now. Although this time next week we will be technically more Stockporty way, I believe. And it's lovely to have everybody. Well, it looks like we've got a great crowd of people in. Thank you all for coming. It's if you've not been to one of these before, they're frankly shambolic, but in a hopefully enjoyable way. We're going to have. We'll have me having a chat with Mark Stay, the wonderful author of the Witches of Woodville books, and he will be on. We'll have a chat. He's been on loads of these before. Many of you know him and read his books already and stuff. The rest of you, if not, will bloody convince you into it because they're fantastic. We'll have Brendan McDonald answering for his crimes. He's also going to be the quiz master because we're going to have a special quiz this evening where you will have a chance to win 3 each of the trilogy of the Stranger Times signed, plus exclusive copies of the newspaper, which we had done specially, which I just realized I haven't got a copy of here. So I think Wonder Wife, when you come on to say hello, which we're going to do in a minute, you can grab a copy of the newspaper and show it to people. And we gave them out to people at live events this week, which we had a couple of. And we've also shoved some in the back of some books. Generally, in most bookshops around Manchester, although I did forget to do it in a couple of them because I was too busy chatting to the people behind the counter. So Wonder Wife, pop on whenever you're ready. You can show us the newspaper, and then I'll bring Mark on and we'll get cracking. Here she is. You've muted yourself, love.
That's better. Full surround sound.
How's everything up the house?
Good. The boys are, Jackson's looking at me in disgust because I've lost a treat for him. But other than that,
okay. Good, because the boys are getting quite there. But there we have it. There is the newspaper. It's a 4-page beauty. It's got some news stories in the front. It's got some stuff. We had another one in the back. It's pretty cool. We're quite impressed with it. So you can win yourself a copy of that, plus, the 3 books, and a special cherub candle that is a limited edition. I say limited edition. They gave us a few of them, and most of them have gone. I'm not sure that's quite the same as limited edition. You could probably find them on the internet. But this one's special because Diller will have licked it. There you go. It's a candle Diller will have licked. Now, the great thing about being in our house is I can say that with confidence because at some point, Diller has licked pretty much everything. Just say a last few hellos. The attractive part of the team. I'm not going to argue that with you, Steve. You're dead right.
That's clear, obviously, yes.
There's people getting more excited about Wonder Wife. Scented candle. It'll smell of something. It might just be candles.
I've not sniffed it, but I'll do it later and report back.
Yeah, we'll have a live sniffing. Why not? That's going to be exciting entertainment. Wonder Wife can sniff a candle live on. There's probably some part of the internet right now. People are paying for that. Ooh, I've made it weird. Hello from a small town in Oregon. I like the way you're keeping it vague in case we're going to follow you home, Dial. That's nicely done. Is that Dale? Dale. Hello. Diller Gate Sales. I think Diller has licked it. Oh, mate, that's our main sales thing. Is Diller has licked stuff.
Speaking of Diller licking stuff, well, there you go.
There he is. That little ball of love-filled anxiety. And there's the other one. Yes, the two of them have been. It's been quite because I've been away. Diller gets quite upset when I'm away. He starts walking around the house every morning, checking it 3 times to find out where I am. This time was the first time Jackson actually was excited to see me when I came home. I think he's gradually grown. He's gradually broken me. By the way, we've lived in this house before we get started. I'll just tell you this: we've lived in this house now for 3.5 years, pretty much.
Yes.
We're moving house. I said in like 5 days' time, pretty much. There's always been squirrels beside my office outside here. There's big trees. Today, for the first time, my idiot dogs noticed there were squirrels, and it has become the center of their world. They didn't notice the squirrels for literally 3.5 years, and now they're wandering around like they're under attack, constantly on the alert in the garden, trying to defend it from the squirrels that have been here way longer than they have. If we want extra captioning, live comedy, turn on live captioning. It will be hilarious because I use dictation occasionally, and the amount. They say AI is going to take over the world. After seeing what computer software that's cost a lot of money that I've paid for and tried to train for 1.5 years, still doesn't understand me saying the word bunny. I think it's a while yet before we have the full computer takeover with Skynet and stuff. So unless there's anything else, my love, I think we'll crack on and we'll bring Mark on, shall we?
All right, then I shall disappear. And
bring Mark on. Disappear. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall introduce, thank you very much, my love. I shall introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Stay, author of the Witches of Woodville books. Buy them now. Hello, Mark. How are you, my friend?
I'm ticking to be, sir. How are you?
Very good. Tired.
Footsore. I want to talk about your tour of London because I was in London yesterday and I went to all the major bookshops and I was trying to find an unsigned copy so I could wind you up and say, you've got to come back to London and sign it. Not a single bloody one. So how many steps did you do? How many? What? Because you were everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, what basically happened was I was supposed to be down. There was some people here might be waiting for their Goldsborough book. Sorry if you are. There's Goldsborough, these great limited editions, but there was a mess up on the printing. They had the wrong date in them, so they had to go back. So I was supposed to go down because what you do is you go in and you sign these while you're down. I was down for the event and all that. So because I had some extra time, the publisher sort of went, "Do you want to do like 3 or 4 ones in the centre of London?" And I was like, no, I'm getting on the Waterstones app. I'm finding everywhere that has my books. And I had this mad plan because I was going to like Southwest London. For most of you wouldn't know London. I was like in Richmond, which is like almost on the outskirts of London in some way. Wouldn't that be right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they had loads of them in. So I was going there and I was going to, And then I had 8 planned, which we all thought was very ambitious. And like even Elaine was going, you've not given yourself any time here to eat food or anything in the plan. And I was like, I'll get a Snickers on one of those things on a platform. They'll have one of the machines. It'll be fine. I'll keep powering through. And then bizarrely, I found out that 4 of them, I was going from Richmond. I was supposed to be on a train to Clapham Junction. Then I was going to walk to Putney and then walk from Putney to Wandsworth and then get on another thing or something like that. And then literally while I was on the train, I got on the train in Richmond to go to Clapham Junction. I was sitting there sort of half knocked out, tired already. And then the voice just went, now arriving in Putney. And I was like, Putney's on the list. Because basically, as you know, I haven't been in London. The tube map is kind of easy to follow. There's a big thing, but they don't have the trains on it, like the overground trains. So I had no idea all these stations are on the same thing. So it turns out Putney and Wandsworth and Clapham Junction are all on the same train. So
nice straight line. Yeah.
So I ended up getting more done then, and I ended up going, I can get 9. Or I got, before it even started, I went by Holborn by accident because it wasn't on my list, but I passed it by, I went in and they luckily had some books. And so that was 1 extra. So I was already heading for 9 then. And then I thought I can get 10. And then when I got 10, I thought I can get 12. And basically this whole day ended at like 7:45. By this point, I was so like my feet were killing me. My legs were messed up. Because I think, as I said to Elaine at one point, I was on the phone for a lot. I said to her at one point, he said, we said that Diller's slowing down in his walks because he's getting older. Turns out Diller's slowing down in his walks because I'm getting older and he doesn't want to work. He doesn't want me to be. Because I was like, wow, I am not as good at this as I used to be. So I was literally limping down Tottenham Court Road. I was like, no, I can get to Waterstone's Tottenham Court Road by 8 o'clock when it closes. If I can get in 10 minutes beforehand, I'll sign stuff. They probably won't be annoyed about me coming in, but then we passed Foyles, which is on Tottenham Court Road, and I thought, oh, I could go in there. And then I looked at the door and said it doesn't close till 9. I was like, I could actually go down there and then come back here and get 13. And I was like, but I don't think I can do that. It's like a couple hundred yards. I was like, I can't go anymore. So I just went into Foyles and just the guy found the books for me. And you can see in the pictures on social media, it's just me getting more and more broken.
Knackered.
So that was Monday.
Day well spent. And then Tuesday night, you and Mr. Ben Aronovich, I was in the middle there trying to,
basically. You were emceeing with calm and grace.
Well, I just lit the touch paper and stood back and let you two get on with it. And it was a really, really fun evening. It was a great crowd. But you were telling me something really strange happened. I talk about stranger times happened after the signing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this was such a weird moment. Bear in mind, I was already really knackered because I did quite a lot of. I actually did almost as much walking that day as well. So I was doing all those things. So I was pretty knackered. We'd all been in the pub. You'd have to head off your train, and then Ben was getting his taxi, and I was just standing outside waiting for his taxi with him, having a chat with him. And literally, his taxi pulled up, so he turned around. And for anyone who's not read Ben Aranovich's books, first off, he should. They're genuinely brilliant. The Rivers of London. I love them. I know Mark's a big fan as well. Yeah. But a big thing in them, there's the foxes that they're like the foxes talk and they consider themselves to be spies, and we're never quite sure who they're working for, but they're like a sort of hidden intelligence network in London. It's a lovely little thing in the books. It was apparently, as he explains in the thing, it was a one small little thing that he did as a joke, and then people loved it, so it ended up being much bigger. And every time I've seen him talk, it's always like the bloody foxes. They're debating my life because I have to keep putting them in books. So we're in Trafalgar Square in the very centre of London. Ben Aranovich turns around, and I'm not kidding, God is my witness, a fox ran by like 5 feet from him behind him. And I was like, Ben, there's a fox! And the thing is, I'm not, because he was getting his taxi and going away. I don't think he even saw it. So I think he was like probably in his taxi talking to someone going, yeah, he seemed nice enough. And then he went a bit crazy at the end and started screaming about foxes. But made it even weirder then. So he's got his taxi and he's gone. And then I'm standing there going, there was a fuck. And there's 3 people outside that pub having a cigarette looking at me like, I'm like, that's Ben Aranovich. And there was if you knew the context, that's pretty impressive. As I was trying to explain to someone afterwards, it's like being there with Richard Dawkins and Jesus running by. It was like, it's pretty bloody unusual. So it was quite the wonderfully weird moment.
It's been a weird week. It's been a strange week. And look, while we're all here, woohoo! Love will tear us apart. And I'm a fan of these. I love these. And it's kind of I shouldn't, this will sound like a hoary old cliche, but I think this one's my favorite. Oh, bless you, sir. I think this one is my favorite. So look, bring us up to speed. We've got there we go. Stranger Times, This Charming Man. Bring us.
My copies of YouTube books are somewhere in a box, which, to be fair, most things are. By the way, when I say some stuff's in a box, before we get onto this is absolutely true. How we sold our house. Basically, our estate agent is brilliant, but you're selling a lifestyle. She came in and gave us a very detailed spec on the whole house and what we should do. And it turned out the main thing we should do was take out any evidence that I live here. So all of my hobby stuff, all my little Blood Bowl characters, all my books, all my game stuff, and me and the dogs had to all basically not exist. It had to look like a house that Elaine was living in on her own as some sort of rich, glamorous spinster. Because that's the lifestyle we're selling. The lifestyle we're very not selling is you're some big, fat Santa Claus looking geek who sits there painting these models while talking to his dogs. So, yes, that's why I don't know where any of my books are, except because almost everything's in a box that belongs to me because I had to move out 6 months ago. But, yes, yes. This book
back on track,
was your question. Yes.
Yes.
And I've not even had that much to drink yet. But, yeah, it's yes, it's the third. It's not a trilogy, by the way, because it's weird. People keep saying that to us. I don't know what. We've never said that. It's a weird thing people keep mentioning. Not a trilogy, because even someone reviewed it on Amazon, left a lovely review, and the review was, "Oh, I'm so upset. This trilogy's over." It's like not a trilogy, never a trilogy. In fact, we can say we'll come to that in a minute about the future of it. But yeah, look, it's basically it's the culmination, I think, of stuff that started in the first two books. It's kind of the Vincent Bancroft story. A large part of it is him not being able to accept that his wife died, which is something that happened in his past, and that ends up coming to fruition in it. Which I'm kind of glad it did, because I think it was one of these things where I had another idea for this book at some point, and I almost started writing that book, and then I thought, do you know what? There's things hanging out there. I think we should, because there's always, like, same as in your series, it's always going to be stuff that's unresolved. But it was like the Americans use the phrase "closing boxes." Where you open a box, you got to close a box. I think it's like just, exactly. And so there's a couple of things, without giving anything else away. Vincent Bancroft's thing gets dealt with. He has his low moments and all that, shall we say. Because weirdly, it is, for being, it's a funny book. It's kind of my style, but it does deal with.
It is hard, without spoiling it. I was welling up, man. It gets you in the feels. This gets you in the feels.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, we've had quite a few people sort of on drafts and stuff saying that, which is nice, because it's about fundamentally a man not dealing well with grief. I mean, not that, well, again, but I will. One of the weird things, because this sort of came out when I was being interviewed about it, and one of the weird things I sort of realized was, it's a thing about grief, and then as you know, sort of just over a year ago, I took 2 months off because my father was ill and then passed away. And, look, he was in his 80s. It was no great surprise. He had a very good life and all that. It was just, it's something, most people go through, a parent dying and stuff. I don't know, in its way, it's a very ordinary thing. But it was the first time that I'd experienced the grief of somebody close to me dying. And it was weird where I wrote like the first third of this book, and then I was off for the kind of the 2 months because I just couldn't really focus, if I was honest. But it's interesting coming back to it that I think you just, without kind of being consciously aware of it, I think now reading back, I can think that, because we all know what grief is, obviously. But I think when you experience it, maybe it then reflects in your work, because you sort of have a deeper understanding about what it's like. Like, I can remember being really surprised when I was trying to write and I just couldn't focus. And I was like, oh, this is just me being really bad. And then Dad had a sort of up week where we thought, oh, he might be around for a bit longer. Like, it was like, a stay of whatever for a couple of weeks. We all knew it was happening. But I remember, like, I started for a couple of days and then I got a phone call saying Dad's had a downturn again. And I realized then that I felt instantly sort of physically so much more tired and stuff than I had done.
Right.
And I realized then, I was like, oh, wow, it's not me being lazy. It's not me being out of shape. This is actually the physical thing that you have. There's a physical element to these things. And it's one of these things, but it's amazing that, it does, I guess, inform the writing for all that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk a bit about some of the ideas in this, because there's a strange organization in this, which might make people think of certain organizations that brainwash people might be one way of putting it. I don't know. I want to dance around this without getting, sued by anyone.
Well, it's because someone else said, but it wasn't particularly Scientology, by the way. Just I'll say.
I didn't say that. Who said that?
Mark works in film. Mark can't mention Scientology. But yeah, it was. But it was more the sort of the celebrity. Plus, it's more the Gwyneth Paltrow thing, kind of. Right, but again, yes. I'm not saying this is the same level, but that was kind of the inspiration for it. Is really more the Gwyneth Paltrow type of thing. But yeah, there is this sort of and there's a celebrity thing, and then they go on these retreats where all the rich people. So I guess there's elements of a few different things in it regarding the is it the Pinter Institute or Pinter Foundation, something like that?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I can't remember the names. I'm terrible. Can you remember the names of all your characters and stuff? Because
oh God, no. I had a meeting with my editor yesterday. She was talking about a draft I finished before Christmas. Didn't have a clue. I just sat there nodding, taking notes. Yeah, sure. I'll check that when I get home.
To be fair, that Jay, what happens to me is I'm so bad with names. What actually happens is I write the thing. Then Lane goes, you've got 4 people called Vincent in this or something. And so she says, we'll have these names. Like, yeah. So how I think of the character isn't what turns out to be their name in the book, but it doesn't really register with me. So when people come up and say, "Oh, I love such and such," and I'm like, "Is this in my book or is this someone you know?" Oh, by the way, I should have said if you have any questions, of course, stick them in there. Maybe stick question in front of it if you can, just so it's easier for it to pick out because there's lots of comments. We want you to keep chatting and stuff. But sorry, Mark. Anyway, fire away.
Yes. Well, I just you kind of answered my question anyway. What inspired that? And of course, well, the other thing is the title. We got another song. Have you got a playlist of gloomy Mank songs that you've got lined up for future books? Or
they're not all gloomy. Let's not stereotype Manchester.
Come on.
Oh, and that's what you meant. In fact, there's actually a brilliant sort of piano version of that, which I was actually listening to quite a lot. But you can also kind of hear the lyrics a bit better, and you go, wow, this really is pretty bleak. Yeah. But yes, I do have a playlist I have for myself, the Stranger Times playlist, where I bunged on a lot of Manchester songs. Someone was asking me about this, about going, the next one I sort of said with Relight My Fire is going to be the next one, is because which, oh, by the way, one of the weird things that happened in the book tour, this woman, God love her, this was at shop number 10 on Monday, right? And this woman was just a bookseller, and she was just trying to be friendly and chatting. And she went, "So, tell me all about the book." She was like, she's Spanish. She was like, "Tell me all about the book." And I was like, "You should have been in Richmond 7 hours ago. I could have told you quite a lot about the book. All I can tell you about the book now is that all the copies I could find of my name in them. That's all I know about this book now. I don't know what happened before or after. I'm literally more pen than man now." But that same shop, what I said about the next one's going to be called Relight My Fire. This bloke who was working behind the counter literally paid no attention, just went, "That's not a Manchester song." I was like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, no, technically, Take That didn't write its cover, so you're right. It's not technically a Manchester song. Someone pointed out last night, to be fair, that Love Will Tear Us Apart is actually a Macclesfield song. But no one's writing a series of books in Macclesfield. No offense to anyone from Macclesfield, but let's be real. They call themselves a Manchester band. It's close enough. But yeah, that guy got quite angry about it.
We got a question from Jerry Riley earlier, and he said, "Are you going to use any rock song titles? Because these are all kind of, Charming Man, Love Will Tell Us About, the kind of indie,
There's a few. I mean, there's Oasis tracks. There's what I can tell you. There's definitely Oasis title in the future of one of the book ideas. I don't know when that book be written, but there's a few more a few cracking song titles as well. James, you could probably do the whole series just with James songs. Yes. So there's quite a few different ones. And then there is, once you start looking at, stuff that's technically Manchester, people don't maybe associate quite as obviously. There's plenty of stuff. So my hope is I get to about book 7. And by then, my books are so phenomenally popular that bands are basically, I'll just tell them what title I need and they'll go off and do as a song. That's my plan, is like that basically that the supply line gets reversed. That's how cocky I am.
Lisa McTurnan says, "Relight My Fire would be a great title for a book about witches." Thanks, Lisa. I'm going to pinch that for my series. We got a question from Kenny Mortimer. Says, "Is there a real church that inspired the Stranger Times HQ?"
Do you know what? There is. I might actually ask Elaine to check this, because it was on the route to my old office from where our old apartment was, the place before this one. But it's now a community centre. It's beside a big park there. It's near the flyover. And that, I mean, there's a few, not that the architecture isn't exactly right, but it's now it's a community centre. And I like literally that I tell a story about, I got excited one morning in the shower. Sorry, that's a bad start to any story. But I was like remembering the Stranger Times idea that I had 15 years ago. And I was like, oh yeah. And it was like, then I was walking through Manchester and all these bits. Oh, that could be it. And I thought, I literally passed that and went, their offices could be in the church. That was never part of the original idea. So yeah, there is a specific thing. But weirdly, I've been asked that several times this week. And I've never had that, but I probably should find it out. So Elaine, she has a tendency to blank me out sometimes. But if you are listening, love, if you could have a quick check and see if you can figure out where that place is I'm talking about.
Maybe we could have like as you're so keen on walking, you could have a walking tour of sites.
I did think, Joe actually thought about, I thought it'd be really funny is to come up with an entirely fake Stranger Times walking tour. Where it's just made up stories from various locations. Because there is a brilliant ghost tour that you can do in Manchester that I actually did and got inspiration for a few short stories and all that. But yeah, there's lots of stuff like that. I keep thinking maybe we'll do that. Maybe we will. But God, it's 25 minutes gone already. Have we just been chatting away for?
Well, look, one thing I want to come back to. You said this isn't a trilogy, so does that mean are there going to be more?
Yes, I can. I say I can officially announce. I don't know when. I think it's been announced at London Book Fair, but I've signed up for 3 more books.
Yay!
Yeah, and to be honest, I was going to write them anyway. Congrats. So it's basically like they can't stop me. It's the joys of being able to do it yourself. But we've got Transworld. They're very keen, and so we've signed up and all. Speaking of which, are there going to be more of the Witches of Woodville?
Yeah, there's one coming in September and then one the year after that. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. Can we have her, by the way, Elaine, now, do you want to put up the graphic now to show people the fancy graphic we have?
Oh, there's a fancy graphic.
She's probably sitting there. She's probably been in the drink now, so she's forgotten all about this. She might have just turned over. She might be, there we go.
There they are. Hello.
There is book 1, 2, and 3 of the Witches of Woodville. I've recommended them several times, but for the record, I know he's here, and I obviously got on well with the bloke, but they're fantastic books. And again, I think that the last one was probably my favorite as well. But they've all been good. They're a lot of fun. I mean, I always weird because people describe my books this way, but I say it's a light, fun read, and it always feels a little bit almost dismissive in a weird way.
Yeah. It's really hard to do.
Exactly. It's like to write something that's just genuinely a fun.
Especially these days,
Yeah, well, we all need that. So, and people saying how much they love the books in the comments. Lovely to see.
Bless you all. Thank you, folks.
Cool. Well, without further ado, I think we should bring on our special guest, man who's going to have to apologize for himself. Here he is, Brendan McDonald, the voice of Stranger Times.
What did I do? Hi, Caimh. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Brendan.
Great to see you. Hi, everyone.
Hello. You're going to find out what you did, Brendan. You've been a very naughty boy. But first off, how are you? Well?
I am really well. I'm great, and I'm full of Stranger Times-esque excitement. And I am already about 2 hours into the audiobook. I haven't the audiobook.
You're listening to yourself, which is
yes, I am, but I'm listening just for your words, really.
And
I'm also delighted. I'm also delighted to see that you have survived your frankly phenomenal bookshop crawl of the last couple of days. So congrats on that. And,
next time I'm bringing them rum at me and I'm having a shot at everyone. That'll keep.
Yeah, I think you should incorporate some kind of boozing so you go slowly downhill and get progressively sozzled as you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mind you, we actually did have. I shouldn't say this, but the publishers brought me out for lunch on the Wednesday.
Lovely.
And was it? My PR guy Tom is lovely, and he's like, "Well, nip to the pub beforehand because I'll have a cider because I'm gluten free now because that's how glamorous my life is. I can only have cider." And I thought I'll have a drink now. There's never cider in restaurants, so I'll have a drink now, and then I'll just have I'll have a water with dinner. And then we got in, and my editor was there, and he started going. We're in a French restaurant. It was a nice place, but he sort of went, "There's never cider." But no, there is cider. I said, "Oh, brilliant! Well, let's get him some cider." I was like, "Oh no, no." And it's like, but he was obviously like, "We're celebrating. Get this man cider." So I did a bookshop signing that I was a little bit sozzled for. I was sobered up a couple of hours later, but it was about 2 hours there. I'm going, I'm enjoying this in a different way. I have literally, I was signing books and dropping them a little bit, going, oops, sorry. Sorry about
Sure.
this.
Keeping up the old Irish stereotype. I see.
Yeah, very much.
I'll drink to that.
Yes. No, but it was really good. I said, I don't know if I said this live in the thing, but we figured out I walked a marathon in 48 hours.
I was going to say your step count must have been something else.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was a bit off the thing. It was pretty intense. But there you go. So Mark, do you want to ask Brendan the pre-agreed question we came up with so we do a bit of proper interviewing?
Oh,
have you forgotten the question?
I've forgotten the question. What was the question? I've got. Is it the odd one out? Is it the odd one out questions? Is it?
No. We're doing. We're going to
that's
quiz in a
different.
minute.
No.
I'll do it. The question is, Brendan, who is your favorite Stranger Times character?
Well, Caimh, I'm glad you asked me that.
He was supposed to. That wasn't.
What? He was supposed to ask himself the question.
Yes.
How's that supposed to work?
Brendan,
to answer that very difficult question, there are
do
many.
that for a minute, Brent. I'm doing a drink.
Okay,
away.
yeah. And I do love them all dearly. They feel like my strange friends who live in my head. And all Irish bias aside, I think it has to be the main man, Vincent Bancroft. He's just so much fun to voice, and it's interesting. I totally agree with what Mark was saying there about this latest installment, because in the Stranger Times, in the first book, we're introduced to him, and it's just he's 100 miles an hour of just bolshy, the most belligerent, drunken, doesn't give a shit about what anyone thinks or feels, and he's portrayed as that. You get to see a slightly different side of him in book 2, and now you really get to see the emotional core as such of Vincent, and he goes to somewhere. So I'm quite impressed with the arc where he's going, but he just has so many zingy little. They're not even one-liners. They're just little sort of throwaway insults, and there were so many times during recording that I would say something and I wouldn't make it to the end of the line. I'd just be cracking up laughing. They were just brilliant, and I love it. And as we discussed before, Caimh, it was interesting because even before I went into the studio for the first book, you had referenced our beloved ex-crook Prime Minister. Which one, says you?
I know, yeah.
Charlie Haughey, who spoke like this in Amara, he was very back there. And you would reference him, and I said, I'd love that, but I'd last about an hour and my voice was gone.
I actually said,
we ended up not a million miles from it.
Well, it's interesting, Jenny, because somebody asked about voices last night, and I was on the audiobook and stuff. It's always weird at live book events when people bring up, by the way, the audiobooks and the Kindle, because they almost look guilty because they're in a bookshop and they're mentioning.
Sorry to ask, but
yeah, like literally, people come up to you at the desk, go and like lean in, going, "I'm a big fan of the Kindle. I love the audiobooks," and then they like run off because they're afraid that the Waterstones police are going to fight, like charge them down and club them to death. But someone asked that, and it was actually your version of Vincent Bancroft when I heard his accent. Because obviously we're from similar areas, so I was like, oh. But I actually, in my head, I sort of changed his backstory a bit because it's actually better. From the voice you gave was like, that's more interesting that he comes from sort of that kind of area.
Oh,
so
cool.
in my head,
he's
I
a bit
sort
more
of changed
Dublin-y.
it.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he's more Dublin and he's particularly from Dublin, probably north side of Dublin.
Yeah,
and I sort of changed my vision in my head of where he was from. So it does sort of feed back like that.
I felt it would probably slightly more add to the comedy of the voice, that it wouldn't, like, I'm from South Dublin, so the posher side of Dublin.
Yeah, he's landed royalty. It's basically what we're saying there. My nieces and nephews grow up in the south side of Dublin, and you can't talk to them now.
Really?
It's all just caviar and what's your favorite brand of champagne, Uncle Caimh? It's terrible.
That's how we roll on the south side, baby.
But by the way, before we get to the quiz, I should, because I was explaining this to everybody, but I should give you some context. There's a friend of mine called Mark, not Mark Stay. He's Bookmark in my phone. The other Mark is Dog Mark in my phone, because I like to give his personalities. But he's a friend of mine. Without giving anything away, he's in the book. And he was at the book launch last night. We did it with Phil Mealy in town. And I was sitting beside him in the pub, and his son went, "Oh, you can listen to yourself in the audiobook." He said, "Oh yeah, I'm in the audiobook." So he's like, he had the audiobook already, so he was like scanning forward to hear himself. So to give you some context, though, my friend Mark, he's Mancunian as they come. He's lived here his whole life. He's never left, as far as I'm aware. He refuses to leave. I'm pretty sure he's dug in. He's watching this now at home, and he's thinking Manchester.
It says here, I'm Dog Mark in the comments. There we go.
Yeah, I'm Dog Mark. This, by the way, this genuinely, I didn't know what Mark's second name was until now, and we've been mates for a couple of years because we met dog walking. But he's in the book. Can you guess which person he is in the book? Because his name is never said. I'll give you basically. It's near the end. There's an abandoned golf course in it that's quite near the finale. Without giving anything away, that abandoned golf course exists. It's in Swinton, quite near where myself and Mark live. I met Mark because we were both walking our dogs on this abandoned golf course, which the evil property developers that own it have now tried to fence off for the third time to stop people going on. Because God forbid people should walk on grass in an area.
How dare they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're proper evil. I mean, I consider myself reasonably law-abiding, but like I've had discussions about we can get some wire cuts from somewhere, can't we? Because I've never been more moved to civil disobedience. So Mark's a good mate of mine. I literally used the golf course, and I actually needed something to happen. I needed to meet somebody in there. So there's a guy walking two dogs. Do you remember this bit?
Now I have it, because it was when it's kind of coming to the finale, and
yes, and he's like, so it's quite
and there's a guy and they're looking and they ask him for directions.
Yeah, don't give anything away. Yeah, that's him.
Okay. See, I recorded this 3 months ago or so.
Yeah. So
I'm
Mark
50 now, so I don't remember things as well as I.
Exactly. Well, anyone who might know the area, if you could think of what is the very worst thing you could do with a Mancunian, if you have a guess for yourselves now, because it's exactly what you think it is, because you apparently have made him a Scouser.
I was just about to say, accused him of being Scouse.
Yeah. He's been. I mean, I've got messages from his wife. He's just been sitting on his sofa all day, rocking back and forth. Just not a Scouser, not a Scouser, not a Scouser.
Mark Dog. Is it Mark Dog or Mark Book?
No, Mark Duck is this one. Mark Dog is Mark Dog.
Sorry, which one is which?
The guy he's Mark Dog or Mark
Mark Dog. If you are watching, apparently, I humbly apologise for making you a Scouser. Sorry about that, man. I should have gone total man. See, the problem is you got loads of Manchester characters in it. So for the ancillary little characters in it, for the main characters. Obviously, the process of it, I will read the book, I'll do my prep, and I'll do little voice notes for characters and say, well, where might this person be from? And then write a complete backstory, extra monologues, all that. And I'll come up with an idea for the voice. But when it's people with one or two lines in it, because like in the initial book, in The Stranger Times, I don't know if you know, Caimh, how many characters are in The Stranger Times?
Oh God, we should have used this as a question for the quiz.
Yeah.
It'd be a good one. I'm tempted to hold it back for the quiz now. Oh God, I mean, there's all the main ones that are 27 or something. I don't know.
Almost double that, 51.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, one man band. so 51. You can't obviously give all that time to every character who has a couple of lines. So when we're in the studio, myself and Paul will be going, well, have we done Newcastle on that? Have we done Scouts? Have we done? And because it's set in Manchester, I'll kind of do varying degrees of Mancunian. Yeah. So obviously you've Tom Sturgis, and you've got Ox, who pretty much based on Liam Gallagher, really. So, you've got varying Mancunian accents. So I kind of stay away from Manchester accents if it's a character with a couple of lines. So unfortunately for your Manc-loving pal Mark, he ended up a proper Scouser.
I know, and the worst thing was he previously, as mank as they come, he properly complimented how good your Mancunians were.
Oh, well, that's very kind.
And then you did him like that. I mean,
if I had known, you should have tipped me off.
Yeah, I should have, to be fair.
Sorry, Mark.
Brendan, when you've got those recurring characters and they got a very specific accent, I've got some listener questions, viewer questions in a second as well.
Yeah.
Do you how do you get back into that character as you're narrating? Is there like a when you said Liam Gallagher, is that did you go to that voice? Do you have a sort of a note in the text next to it? Was it color coded? How does it work?
Yeah, to be honest, at this stage, I mean, I do know the characters and I know their voices. Now, I'm not saying it's not challenging if you have a 4-way conversation, say, between Grace, Reggie, Ox, and Stella or something, particularly when you're doing female voices, and particularly when they're African females in their mid-50s, I can't really relate. So it is difficult, but no, I do them as live essentially, and you'll do one talking to the other, and you go back and forth in it. There's a fair bit of prep work in it, but 3 books in, it's great that he's so fucking prolific. You're just knocking them out there. So I end up doing one about every 9 months at this stage, and it takes a week to do one. So you've only got like 8.5 weeks, 8.5 months between things. So I'm kind of used to it at this stage, Mark, to answer your question.
Okay, but that is because that is really hard to do, the conversations, because I tried, I at one point I had to go and narrating my Dublin books before we got Morgan in and stuff. But one thing that reminds me of that was I had a stand-up bit before where it was a joke about French people and German people, whatever it was, years ago. Couldn't even remember the joke. But I was watching, you got a DVD, we did the Comedy Store, and I was watching my DVD. My flatmate Gary was there, and his mate had come over. And this is like, I started off with like trying to do French and German. There was a conversation. And this guy sort of walked in halfway through and he just watched it. And then he went, why are these 2 Dutch people having an argument?
Harsh.
Very fair. I'm not good at it. Anyway, fire away, Mark. Sorry, I know you got.
Yeah, we got a question from Keith Johnson. It says, Brendan, when you're reading audiobooks, do you get critiqued for anything before you actually finish it? So you mentioned there the producer. You're having a sort of back and forth conversation.
Paul Fegan is the is the sound engineer and kind of voice director really on these books. And Paul does all of Roddy Doyle's books, and Paul Howard, who does a lot of books here as well. Yeah. And he's been doing the Stranger Times since day one. In fact, it was Paul. I was working with him this afternoon doing a fascinating e-learning job for the health service executive here in Ireland. And that's what I worked with Paul for 7 or 8 years doing that, and he was doing more and more audiobooks. And I said to him, I'd really like to get into this audiobook thing, and any chance of doing an e-intro to someone in Penguin. And long story short, that's how I ended up doing the Stranger Times. But Paul has a great ear for it, and we do have interesting conversations. We have a good shorthand between us, and he'll definitely come in with suggestions and say, I'm not sure about that, and sometimes I'll agree with them and sometimes I won't. And it's not, I see Keith uses the word critiquing, but it's more directing, the critiques might come with a review or something like that. But no, myself and Paul work really, really well together. And to be honest, we have a great laugh doing it. You work hard, you're doing 7-hour days, but it is honestly, I'm now 50. I'm doing this for 25 years. It is my.
You're 50.
Yeah.
Oh, you prick. Sorry, keep going. I look like you could be your dad. I'm 47.
Well, just have a shave, man. That's all. I grew a lockdown beard. It was as white as yours, But, yeah, I had a lot of work done. What was I going to say? Yeah, this is honestly my favorite job of any voice work that I do. I absolutely love it, and I'm a fan of the book. So when I get sent the book a couple of weeks before recording, I'm jumping into it as a fan. So it's great, and it's a real relief to actually like it. So I don't have to think in my, oh God, these are shit, and I go, Caimh, that was great, my God.
Now I've got to go on his fucking live launch and pretend to like
this shit again.
By the way, there's a mate of mine, hello Shane, as a good friend of mine, Shane Starr, and he actually says here in the comments, I used to write e-learning courses for Brendan and Paul to record. So there you go, small world.
No way.
Shane's down in Limerick. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So there you go, small world. So don't be slagging them off.
No, it's just not the most interesting work.
No, I can't imagine it is for anyone, to be fair.
You were saying that, Brendan, that it's a good laugh. It is a good laugh. Now we've got a question from Inesh, who is saying, is there room for an extra chapter of bloopers at the end? I mean, do you crack up a lot? Is there room for bloopers?
Yeah, there definitely is. You'd have to ask the people of Penguin at that. There is the occasional bit of freestyling as well. and some stuff that might get me arrested, frankly. But yeah, I would love to hear bloopers, and I love bloopers in any form.
Yeah, it would be quite. I mean, there's an incredible video of Brendan just doing the voices between various, like it's a little bit of the recording. We should maybe ask him for next time to any bloopers to stick them all together and see
Yeah. Well, I think Paul probably has a few ones in the archives somewhere. I'll mention it to him. I'm not sure if he's watching here or what.
Cool. I was just saying there's some other questions here. Does Brendan do any other acting other than voice acting? Because he looks like how I imagine Vincent. So I think he'd be great if he went onto a screen. Oh, hello.
Well, I would dearly love to play Vincent if it ever went on to the screen.
To be fair, he is. I mean, Vincent is very unhealthy looking, so you don't actually look like Vincent should look. So I'm afraid you'll have to start looking your age if you want to be Vincent.
So I'm getting there. I was an actor for many years. I did theater for 13 years, and I still do the odd little thing. But I've just, as time has gone by, I don't know. I think I'm probably a better voice actor than an actor, and it's a lot easier.
And you get to stay home in the evenings. There's a lot
and you get to stay home. Yeah, you don't tour around. Nobody complains if you put on a stone or your teeth aren't white enough, or So it's.
I will say, by the way, just because you were, for any Irish people in, and some other people might know this as well if they're rugby fans, but Alone It Stands, which is an incredible play based on a story of the All Blacks, who are like traditionally the greatest team in world rugby. I mean, they're not at the minute. Ireland's number one. Not to throw that out there. But
it'll be France tomorrow.
Yeah, at least until tomorrow. And then we've never number two if we lose. Brendan toured Alone It Stands around the world, which is an amazing piece of theatre, honestly, because it's how many? Is it 6 actors or 8? I can't
remember. 6 actors, doing a kind of Stranger Times type. I think there was 54 roles or something. It's a brilliant play.
They literally do the match. They do people in the stands. It's an incredible achievement.
Dogs,
and it's
babies. Yeah, it was a great play.
Yeah, an amazing piece of theatre. If anyone gets a chance, I know it comes around every few years.
Yeah, it does. It's still, I think it's still going along. But I was a regular actor, and then I just started doing more and more acting, and now I do a lot of animation work and audiobooks and commercial and stuff. So yeah, it's
Liz
easier.
Liz has asked a question, says, is Grace modelled on Mrs. Tembe from Doctors? In my head, she's the same woman. We got lots of questions about Grace. I think they just want you to do Grace's voice.
I swear to God, we had this chat last and Grace was undoubtedly the hardest character, unsurprisingly.
It was, bless. He had to get a lot of notes off.
Yeah, Elaine was so helpful. I'm pretty sure Grace is modelled on Caimh's mother-in-law.
Yeah. She is basically. There's quite a bit of that in there. So I know my wife likes watching. She puts Doctors on when she's working in the thing. She likes having noise in the background. So Wonder Wife, if you'd like to jump on and say how close the receptionist in Stranger Times is to the one in Doctors. There she is.
Yes, I suppose so. They share similarities. Their love for God, most certainly.
Oh yeah.
The God-fearing is so funny in it. It's cracking up.
Genuinely, one of the funniest things is I used to do this as a bit of stand-up, but it's true. One of the my mother-in-law was a wonderful. Oh, she's got again. Look, she's in it. She's out. She's not hanging around. But one of the funniest things I used to do a bit of stand-up about it was like, and you know this, Brendan, because we both grew up Irish Catholic, I assume. Yes. But I remember like my mother-in-law goes to me at some point going, "Jesus loves you," like just out of nowhere. He's like, "Does he?" I was brought up Irish Catholic. No one's ever told me that before. I've just been told
Jesus didn't love the Irish Catholics as much.
No, I've just been told Jesus knows what you're doing and you're going to hell for it. I didn't even know Jesus liked me.
Jesus is watching you.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, like it's just the way, because how Ghanaians are, because they're genuinely their religion's very different to what we. It's really celebrating. It's joyous. I used to again do a bit about our wedding day, where we had they were like doing songs, and like there was they had the sort of hymn sheet, and we're all doing like a hymn, and like they all knew the song, but they were sort of like from Baptist backgrounds and stuff, So like everyone just started singing it, and literally one half of the church was just sort of giving it a bit of and the Irish Catholic thing was doing the na na na, because that's how we sing in joyous.
I'd go to mass if everyone was giving it loads and doing all that.
Oh,
I might burst into flames, but I'd still give it a shot.
Yeah, I must admit, I've seen it when it makes such a big difference when they're giving it a bit of wedding. It feels a bit more. Yeah. You can feel that little bit of uplift. But yeah, no, because I've been to a couple of services for various things, and it did make a big difference. But yeah, she is. I need to stop modeling stuff on her, but yes, it is definitely her.
So I've never seen Doctors, unfortunately, but no, it is Elaine's mom, and Elaine was very helpful, helping me because I think actually initially, Caimh, I had her talking almost like a female Manny or something. I think it was. Yeah,
she was much more sort of. She was more Caribbean, and then Elaine was sort of, which is understandable. And then Elaine was sort of kind of directing you into the right continent. And
Oh, sure. He was terrified of just making such a balls of it.
It is. And to be fair, it's honestly like, because we were auditioning for people, particularly for the Dublin trilogy, where you go in and there's these websites. And they just have like people doing, and the funniest thing was you had all these actors who were like American or from other parts of the world. They just said Irish male, Irish female. And I'm sitting there going, there's like 15 different Irishes. What are you talking about? One Irish.
At the top of the morning.
Yeah, oh God.
Lucky Charms.
It was all of that, gentlemen. Yeah. It was all of, if you ever really want to get wound up for an afternoon, go in and listen to the samples for
But to be honest with you, that's what I was worried about with Grace, because I didn't want some kind of crappy cultural appropriation of what I thought she should sound like. But Elaine was very helpful, and
I think also people understand as well. I mean, you did a brilliant job at it, but also like you have to sort of get close. I think it's one of these things where, as long as it's not ridiculous, most people will go, I appreciate that because they're especially. I need to stop writing quite so many acts. Like I didn't know there was 51, for example.
And it's more now. It's fun for me. It's a good challenge.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. But we should. Do you want to start? Shall we do a bit of the quiz? Let's do one of the quiz questions. Will we? Is that okay?
Yes.
So what we're doing, folks, is you have a chance to win yourself a copy of each of the books in the. I almost used the T word there. I'm not going to use the T word. Of the 3 books in the series so far, which there will be many more of, I'm pleased to say.
It's definitely not a trilogy.
Not a trilogy.
Definitely not a trilogy. It's even less of a trilogy than the other one that already has 7 books in it.
Which is on 10, is it?
It's 10 that way. But yeah, so what we're going to do is there'll be that. You get a copy of the newspaper Elaine showed earlier on. They'll all be signed, so we can sign them to your mates, because obviously you all have copies of the books already. I know. But for your friends and family who want to get into the cult, and there'll also be the special, possibly scented, at least lit by dinner candle. So what we're going to do is, Brendan has a question with multiple choice answers. And Brendan, I think you can probably take from there. Do you want to do question 1 first? And we'll explain after that.
Okay, yes. So, to be in with a chance to win all 3 books, plus a special Stranger Times cherub candle and copies of the exclusive newspaper, answer this question. Children's charity Bernardo's revealed a list of the strangest donations they received last year. But which one of these isn't on it? Is it A, a scorpion in a jar of formaldehyde? B, a lamb castrating tool? C, a handbag with a set of false teeth inside? D, a bust of singer Cliff Richard carved from cheese? E, a bag of moss? Or F, an overcoat with a slice of pizza in the pocket?
That's the strangest episode of the Generation Game ever.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people will probably just have a difficulty remembering the options because they're too busy laughing. But so, what the idea is here, folks, is basically, we'll get them to give the answers again. So basically, you have to guess in the comments by going A, B, C, D, or F, which one of those is not something that Bernardo's reported. And what will happen then is we'll have the second question for everybody who didn't get, for everyone who got the first question right. You're in a chance with the second question. So we're using the honor system here. We're not, you'll know yourself whether you got the first one right. And then if anyone gets both the questions right, those names will go into a hat, and then we will draw one of you out at a later date. So before we ask you to answer,
a quick rehash there, will we?
Yeah. So just give them again, Brendan, in whatever voice you'd like.
Ladies and gentlemen, which one is it? I'm going to do it in my normal voice so
Yeah,
that you
okay.
can register it. Is it A, a scorpion in a jar of formaldehyde? B, a lamb castrating tool? I can only think of Generation Game now, Mark. C, a handbag with a set of false teeth inside? D, a bust of singer Cliff Richard made from cheese? E, a bag of moss? Or F, frankly plausible and possible, overcoat with a slice of pizza in the pocket?
Yes. So get your guess in now. Mark, do you want to have a guess? Because you don't know which one is the fake one. So before I reveal it.
Oh, okay. I'm going with I'm going with D. I'm going with the Cliff Richard carved from cheese because I handed it in and then took it home again because I just couldn't be parted with it.
It's I can tell you, as everyone get your answers in now, we'll give you 30 seconds very quickly. While we're doing that, 30 seconds of that, I will say just a quick thing because I know I've been going up the Strange Times a lot the last couple of months. Just for everybody who's fans of the Bunny book, their books, there's going to be a little bunny treat coming some point over the next few months. Don't know exactly when, but I'm working on it now. There will be the book that I ended up releasing at Christmas, a full novel, was supposed to be a novella, and it got completely out of hand. So what I've started now is a short story, which is edging towards novella. But basically, there will be a bunny release in the next few months, and then obviously later in the year, I'm going to write the next Stranger Times book because they're in a much bigger lead. And then the next thing after that is the next McGarry Stateside book. I 100% promise because people are getting annoyed by that. So 10 more seconds. Get your answers in now. Which one of those was not in a Bernado's thing? At Bernado's a donation. And I'll go 5, 4, 3. I should have got Brendan to do this in a voice. 2,
1. Your time is
I can reveal the answer is D, the Cliff Richard made out of cheese.
Well done, Mark.
I'm through to round 2.
If you answered that, Mark's still in with a chance at winning all 3 books. So are you if you said D. And so, yeah, we'll have the second question in a minute. Before that, is there any more questions from you that we should get through? Any more questions from stuff we should supposed to do? Have we covered everything?
People keep asking about TV.
Yeah, I can tell you it's ongoing. As we all know here, TV is a very weird beast. I mean, it's generally, I probably shouldn't say this, but you sign an option, they pay for the rights to have them for a certain month. I can tell you it's just been renewed. So they're still keen to make it. It's now with, the last we heard, it's with Playground, the very good company who's doing it, are working with Peacock, NBC. What I actually did was quite interesting was they have a writer in Australia, would you believe, who's written on various different things, Vikings and a few different other things. Got a very good CV. But I had a meeting with her over the internet, and she said one of the things that came up is because the whole point of the Stranger Times is like the journalists don't know about the magic, but they've discovered the world with us as we're going through it. So, but one of her big notes was, how does magic work in the world? And I was like, well, they're discovering it. And she went, yeah, the problem is I'm writing a TV, so I need to know how it works beforehand. So I had to write a Bible explaining how magic works in the Stranger Times world, which I'll be honest, I was like, oh my God, okay, I guess I'll have to figure that out. And I got into it, and I absolutely loved writing. I ended up writing a way bigger Bible than they wanted. So I actually have this like 15 or 20 page document, which no, I'm not giving anybody before anybody asks. And it's great because it came up with so many different ideas from it. So that's progressing. The Bunny books, again, I can't reveal. Well, there's probably quite a few things I can't say about that, but yeah, it's moving along. It's generally moving forward. I think some scripts are being written for pilots to sort of pitch to people by a very good. They haven't revealed it yet, so I can't reveal who's writing them, but very well-known Irish showrunner, writer who's won an awful lot of awards in Ireland and around the world. Yeah, but particularly in Ireland. And the Irish national broadcaster may be willing, because you need like several different countries to be involved. It's basically easier to start a war than it is to get a TV made. But let's just say 2 of the 3 people in this panel, their national broadcaster, have given it the thumbs up and are keen to help out. So, yeah. So it's things are happening, but we never know. It's one of these things where I frankly just let it go and I concentrate on writing the books. So yeah, that's where we are. Is there anything else, or shall we have question 2?
Let's go to question 2.
Right. So this would now and we're going on the honor system here, folks, because I know you're fans of the books. You're honorable people. So only answer if you got the first one right. So this one is another multi-choice question. So in your own time, Brendan, please, in the voice of your choice, please take it away.
Actually, why not ask it by the main man? All right. Question for you is, TV therapists Nick and Eva Speakman revealed some of the strangest phobias they treated, but which of the following was not on the list? Is it A, a woman who feared gravity was going to disappear, so she'll only leave the house with a pram full of bricks? B, a man who developed a fear of the sky falling after watching the film Chicken Little? Jesus. C, a man who developed... Oh, no, that's the other one. Yeah, sorry. I've had a few whiskeys. C, a man who waxed himself obsessively for fear of hair, including his own. Or D, a woman who wouldn't leave the house without wearing headphones for fear of hearing the song Dancing Queen.
Fantastic. So, like you, Brendan, A, B, C, or D. Which of those is not true? Start your guessing now. And if you get this right, if you got the first question right, you have to only do this if you got the first question right. Be honest. So guess which one of those is not true, made up by me, and then everyone who gets it right, Wonder Wife shall stick into the hat. So look, they're all flying. There's still quite a few people in contention there now. But there we go. A few other things. Yeah, excellent. Well, they're coming in. So, Mark, what's the next book going to be called, by the way? Can you reveal that?
Yes, I can. It's going to be called The Holly King, and it's nice. A Christmas book. It's it's going to be. I don't want to say too much, but it's Christmas in the village of Woodville, and the Holly King is coming to the village, and he's got a list, and he's checking it twice. He's going to see if you're naughty or nice, and things go terribly, terribly wrong. And I really do mean that. People really get put through the ringer in this. Well, I get regular sort of tweets and things saying, "Don't do anything to Bertie," or "Don't do anything." I'm like, oh dear, So yeah, it's going to be a tough old Christmas in Woodville. So that's coming in sort of mid-September. Yeah,
fabulous. I look forward to it. By the way, you'll love this. Last night at the live event, somebody at the back of the room, because we were doing the questions, she went, "What's your relationship like with your editor?" Because a friend of mine's written a book, and with the publishers and the editors, and they're forcing her to change things, and just they're doing horrible things. Like, what's your relationship with your editor? And and I answered, I have a very good relationship with my editor. We discuss things. I've never genuinely, it's true, I've never changed something in the books that I didn't believe was a change. So we discuss things through, and they're really cooperative and stuff. But I had to go, and I'm not just saying that because, as it happens, you're sitting beside two people from my publishers. Because I was like, literally looking at her going, is she with them and has just decided to see if I'm on board or what's going on here? So, right, I'll give you 5, 4. Get your answers in now if you haven't already. 3, 2, 1. Right, they're all in. And I can tell you which one of those phobias was something that I made up. The answer was, Mark, do you want to guess?
I think, because my kids watch the Chicken Little film a lot.
That's what I was going.
Yeah, and it turns out to be aliens, doesn't it? Spoiler. So I think it's Chicken Little.
Okay, Brendan.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. To be honest with you, Chicken Little.
I can tell you, neither of you have won copies of the 3 books. Because the one that I made up was D, Dancing Queen. So there you go. It's actually Waterloo she can't stand. That's Dancing Queen she loves. But no, yeah. So. But my favorite, that's I love that because the woman who won't leave the house without a pram full of bricks is actually true.
That was the one brilliant.
But yeah, so if you got D, congratulations. Wonder Wife's going to quickly just grab everybody's names. I'm sure she'll tell us how many people got D. I can see a few there.
Tricky to get both those right, in fairness.
There's too many for me to count, so I'm going to have to come back to the winners. I'll drop you an email.
Okie dokie. So we'll go through that.
Judging by the names, I can see most people have either emailed me, or otherwise, if I don't have your email details, I will send you a message on Facebook.
Yeah, or if you've got both of them right, Elaine at McForey Inc. MC. Actually, we'll just put it in the comments, love. You just put your email address in, because that's. And anybody who got both of them right there, we can obviously double check. So no cheating. I know you're good people, but don't. Look at herself giving herself top billing. Oh, very fancy.
What I made up.
But there we go. So drop a late email, and we will we'll put them all in the hat, and we'll try and find some way of getting the dog to do it. We'll spend an hour wasting time we don't have on that, and then we'll eventually just pull it out of a hat when we realize it's too hard to get the dogs to do something like that. But we'll give it a bit of effort. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hit, by the way, on the Jason Manford podcast on Absolute Radio, because I originally came up with those as an alternative because we do this thing on Jason Manford show where I give them 2 real stories and a fake one, and the 2 of them have to guess which one is the fake one. By the way, we've done that like once for the last couple of books, but for the first year we did it like over 6 weeks. This is how bad they were at it. Bear in mind there was only 3 options every week at guessing. They did so badly that the competition would have been won by somebody if they just guessed randomly. They would have won it literally 99 times out of 100. It's like the 2 of them didn't understand the rules. They managed to get it so wrong every time that technically I won, and it wasn't possible for me to win. But yeah, it's a lot. But we've done them. It's a lot of fun. The Manford show doing that with the fake story, so people love them. So that's a little variation we had. But I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I think we've come to an end. I've taken up enough of your time, gentlemen. I say thank you very much. Sincerely, thanks very much for everyone. Thank you for supporting the books. You've been wonderful. If you get a chance and you enjoyed the book, bung up a review. If you didn't, well, bung one up anyway. I'm not going to stop you. I mean, obviously, Group A there, much more review, please, than Group B. But thank you very much for all the support. It's been a bit of a mad old week going around signing books at all. And I know I've been banging on hard at the Stranger Times. I promise. Oh, she's back. I've forgotten something. But I promise I will be banging on less about stuff and frankly selling you stuff less for the next couple of months. Yes, my love.
I was just coming to join in and say bye. That was it.
Oh, right. We're all going to do the wave then, are we? Listen, you've been fantastic, folks. Thank you very much. We'll have another one of these, I think, on Paddy's Day, hopefully. But listen, you've all been wonderful. Thank you for all the continued support. I'm going to keep doing this now for a really awkward amount of time to see who has the strongest wrist. My wife is already gone. Mark is fading badly. Brendan's going for the double because he's already running out. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been an absolute delight. I've been Caimh McDonald. Please tip your waiter. We're here all week. Ba-ba-bum-ba-bing. And I'm going to keep talking till my wife stops this thing because she's the one in control. Nice. So, bye-bye, folks. Thank you very much for coming. We love you all.
Bye.